Well, everyone, after 3 weeks without a Speaker of the House, we now finally have one. His name is Mike Johnson out of Louisiana. But is he everything Republicans want? We're going to talk about that here today and more on Speechless. Cut for time. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Speechless Cut for Time. I'm your host, Kev Phares, 22-year-old conservative college student out of Central Illinois, host of Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. But not only do I do a radio show, I can't necessarily fit everything in on that radio show. And so I bring it right here to you on YouTube for this content, my Cut for Time content. Everybody, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Almost to 1,000. Let's hit that soon. Comment what you think and share this with your friends, everybody. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, newly elected just today, October 25th. But who exactly is he? And like I asked, is he everything Republicans want? And more, maybe. Let's get right on into it. Well, everybody, we've had a long 3 weeks without a Speaker of the House. Fire storming up in Israel due to Hamas terrorist attacks, and now an entire full-blown, basically, war going on over there. And many are saying, well, what are the United States going to do about it? Are we going to send more money? Everything like that. Obviously, still war in Ukraine. We have a crisis at our southern border. And now we have a Speaker of the House. We used to have Kevin McCarthy, who many said was not conservative enough, was not fulfilling his promises or anything like that. And all these litany of issues. And I kind of agreed to an extent. But Republicans also do not have the Senate. We don't have the presidency. The chance of us getting too much done or anything really done is slim to none. But let's take a look at who Kevin McCarthy was and compare him to who Mike Johnson, again, a representative from Louisiana, now the new House Speaker. Let's take a look at exactly. So this is Kevin McCarthy. This is Turning Point Action scorecard. This is what I use to measure the level of conservatism. You can look at votes and everything. I always recommend people go look at this. Kevin McCarthy had a lifetime overall score of 88.46% out of 100. His current congressional session is at 86.84%. Where he loses points, he was in terms of voting, he was relatively good on American culture, but lost some there. Good at big tech, free speech, border security, election integrity, medical freedom was where he lost some as well. School choice, not available. And Second Amendment 100 and taxes and spending is where he lost. You can even go down here and take a look at some different votes. So you can see one of the last ones was the continuing resolution that he had, that he supported. And he was one of the main pushers of to avoid the government shutdown. That's one in which he went against what Turning Point Action votes as a more conservative choice, which would have been no. He also voted to push money towards Ukraine. Okay. So those are just some of the most recent votes. But let's look at our new Speaker of the House. That's what we had. Now let's look at our new one. This is Congressman Mike Johnson. Let's take a look at him. So we have a lifetime score of 89.69%. That's higher than McCarthy's 88.84. However, he does have a lower rating for the most recent congressional session, being 85.96 to McCarthy's 86.84. Now let's look at his ratings and where he loses points. American culture is pretty comparable to Kevin McCarthy's, just a little bit lower. Big tech and free speech, he definitely loses. Mike Johnson loses points on free speech. Not exactly sure where that vote was as to why he loses those points, but he does. Medical freedom at 95.83%, higher than Kevin McCarthy's. Second Amendment, 100%, same thing. Taxes and spending, 93.75%, so higher than McCarthy's. In the most recent votes, Mike Johnson has been a lot more in line with Turning Point Action's analysis. Then you get down to different bills relating to emergency declarations, in which he was very much different. Not sure why that is. Schools Not Shelters Act, more and more, but very in line more recently with the more conservative opinion. Well, that's great. Again, still a lower score, so he's somebody to be weary of. I think something that might help with understanding exactly where his priorities lie and wondering exactly what he plans on doing as the Speaker of the House. Here's the first thing, too, is the Speaker of the House, they do have a lot of power. But their power, they are not the sole determiner of everything that happens in Congress. Now, they have a lot of power over that, but they still are not the only vote. They are still not the only member of Congress. And so there's a lot of people saying, well, he's going to end abortion. He's going to end abortion. No, that's not how it works, sweetheart. he doesn't get to control all of that. Now, he does get to control what bills are heard on the House floor and things such as that. He does have a lot of power, but he is not the only decision maker in Congress. But let's hear, this is his first address to Congress. And I think it'd be important to hear exactly what he has to say as the new House Speaker and what he had to say to the American people in determining or in taking this role. So let's take a look and a listen. This is Mike Johnson out of Louisiana, new Speaker of the House, and what he had to say to Congress today, October 25th.
Thank you all. First, a few words of gratitude. I want to thank Leader Jeffries. I do look forward to working with you on behalf of the American people. I know we see things from very different points of view, but I know that in your heart you love and care about this country and you want to do what's right. And
that's
so
to Hakeem Jeffries, Minority Leader, right? Democrat Leader of the House. Stand clap, stand clap.
I want to express my great thanks for our Speaker Emeritus, Kevin McCarthy.
So very, so far, just cordial, the way that you'd kind of expect just about anybody who is assuming this role to act.
Kevin has dedicated over 2 decades of his life to selfless public service, 16 of those years in this House. And you would be hard-pressed to find anybody who loves this institution more or has contributed more to it. He is the reason we're in this majority today.
There's a lot of other reasons too, but okay. Clap, 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 clap. Clap, 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 clap.
His impact can never be overstated, and I want to thank him for his leadership, his friendship, and the selfless sacrifice that you and Judy have made for so many years. You helped build it, Kevin, and we owe you a great debt of gratitude. I want to thank the dedicated and overworked staff of this beleaguered House.
Cool. Okay, so a lot of thank yous. Let's skip ahead to when he actually starts talking. But after, they should have done a save your applause till the end kind of thing. Like, save your applause because I'm getting tired of this. Let's hear what he has to say.
Integral role in keeping our republic, and we thank them for that service. I know we all do.
Oh, my God. More clap, 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 clap. Get to it.
I want to thank my dedicated wife of almost 25 years, Kelly.
Very
She's
nice
not here. We couldn't get a flight in time. This happened sort of suddenly.
All right, that was kind of funny. Tongue in cheek.
But we're going to celebrate soon. She spent the last couple of weeks on her knees in prayer to the Lord, and
that
she's
could
a
have
little worn
really
out.
badly if you
I want to thank our children, Michael and Hannah and Abby and Jack and Will. All of our children sacrifice. All of them do, and we know that. And there's not a lot of perks to being a member of Congress's kid, right? And so I want to thank all of your families as well for what they endure and what they've had to endure for the last 2 weeks.
I would highly disagree with that. I would highly disagree with that, first off. And this is not a very political, but just there's not a lot of perks. No, I can guarantee you there are downsides to being a member of Congress's kid. I mean, the partisanship, probably they get crap at school and stuff like that. But overall, you're kind of set for life if you're a member of Congress's kid, especially if you're the member of if you're the kid of the Speaker of the House. Pretty much any school you ever want to get into ever, financially, you're kind of set for life. Like, I'm sorry. He might say a lot of things I like in this, but overall, I don't like, there's not a lot of perks. There are a lot of perks to being the kid of a speaker, to the Speaker of the House. Okay, come on.
Wow. Yeah.
Clap, 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 clap. We get it. We get it.
I want to thank my faithful mother, Jeannie Johnson, who bore me at the age of 17. And my brothers, Chris and Josh, and my sister, Laura, and all their families, and all of our extended family. In Louisiana, family's a big deal, and we got a bunch of them. I especially want to thank all the extraordinary people of the great state of Louisiana. We have never had a Speaker of the House hail from our state, and so they've been lifting us up. I thank the people of Louisiana for the opportunity to serve you in Congress, and I'm humbled by your continuous support. We will make you proud. To my colleagues, I want to thank you all for the trust that you have instilled in me to lead us in this historic and unprecedented moment that we're in. The challenge before us is great, but the time for action is now, and I will not let you down.
Clap, 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 clap. This is such politician stuff so far. Like, so I'm reacting to this. I haven't watched most of it. I've seen some clips and everything, but this is such politician stuff so far. I'm going to let him keep clapping while I talk. But this is such politician stuff so far. Like, it is saying nothing while saying a lot of words. That's really what it is. It's saying nothing while saying a lot of words. And that really just grinds my gears.
Say to the American people, on behalf of all of us here, we hear you. We know the challenges you're facing. We know that there's a lot going on in our country, domestically and abroad, and we are ready to get to work again to solve those problems, and we will. Our mission here is to serve you well, to restore the people's faith in this house, in this great and essential institution. My dad, it was mentioned, my dad was a firefighter. He was an assistant chief in the fire department in my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, a little town in northwest Louisiana. On September 17th, 1984, when I was 12 years old, he was critically burned and permanently disabled in the line of duty. All I ever wanted to be when I grew up was the chief of the fire department in Shreveport. But after the explosion on that fateful day, he nearly died, and it was a long road back, and it's changed all of our life trajectories. I'm the oldest of 4 kids, and my dad, he lived with pain all the rest of his life for decades more, and I lost my dad to cancer 3 days before I got elected to Congress, 3 days.
Man. And
he wanted to be there at my election night so badly. I'm the first college graduate in my family. This was a big deal to him. And so several weeks after that, it was early 2017.
I just want to say, like, prayers to his family. I know I've been critical so far because politicians deserve criticism. But in terms of that story, man, prayers to him, prayers to his family on that. That's and thank God for his dad for his service.
It was my freshman term, and it fell to me to be in the rostrum one night to serve here as Speaker Pro Tem. I thought that was a big deal until I figured out that's what you do for freshmen late at night. And I think if my memory serves, Miss Jackson Lee was winding down one of her long, eloquent speeches. And not that I was not enraptured by her speech, but I looked up at the top in the chamber there, and I saw the face of Moses staring down. And I just felt in that moment the weight of this place, right? The history that is revered here and the future that we are called to forge. And I really was just kind of almost overwhelmed with emotion. It occurred to me in that moment, it had been several weeks, and I had not had an opportunity yet to grieve my dad's passing. And I just had this sense that somehow he knew. And I had tears come to my eyes, and I was standing here, and I'm wiping them away, and then it suddenly occurs to me, the late night C-SPAN viewers are going to think something's very wrong with the new young congressman from Louisiana. It wasn't Sheila's speech. I'm sorry. I just knew in that moment that my dad, my father would be proud of me, and I felt that he was. And I think all of our parents are proud of what we're called to do here. I think all the American people at one time had great pride in this institution, but right now, that's in jeopardy. And we have a challenge before us right now to rebuild and restore that trust. This is a beautiful country. It's the beauty of America that allows a firefighter's kid like me to come here and serve in this sacred chamber where great men and women have served before all of us and strive together to build and then preserve what Lincoln did refer to as the last best hope of man on earth. We stand at a very dangerous time. I'm stating the obvious. We all know that. The world is in turmoil. But a strong America is good for the entire world.
I'm in agreement on that. But once again, like, he really hasn't said that much this entire time. He really hasn't said all that much about what he's going to do or anything. It's been thank yous, a personal story, which again, touching, some tongue-in-cheek jokes, almost reminiscent of like a high school class president acceptance speech, and that we need to be strong. Okay, get to it.
We are the beacon of freedom, and we must preserve this grand experiment in self-governance. It still is. We're only 247 years into this grand experiment. We don't know how long it will last, but we do know that the founders told us to take good care of it. I want to tell all my colleagues here what I told the Republicans in that room last night. I don't believe there are any coincidences in a matter like this. I believe that Scripture The Bible is very clear that God is the one that raises up those in authority. He raised up each of you, all of us.
Oh my gosh.
And I believe that God has ordained and allowed each one of us to be brought here for this specific moment in this time. This is my belief. I believe that each one of us has a huge responsibility today to use the gifts that God has given us to serve the extraordinary people of this great country, and they deserve it. And to ensure that our republic remains standing as the great beacon of light and hope and freedom in a world that desperately needs it.
Oh my God, I can imagine. We're going to keep going with it, but I can imagine the liberal meltdown over all of that. Even mentioning the Bible. You know what's going to happen if it hasn't already is Twitter's going to be trending, Instagram's going to be trending. It's all going to be trending with that clip, and it's going to be him saying about God and how there's no coincidence, this is about God. And they're gonna be like, separation of church and state, separation of church and state. Oh my God, he's referencing God. Like, oh my God, which is ironic because they're gonna go, oh my God, and then talk about how he's referencing God in Congress and how he's talking about how he appreciates scripture. Here's the thing for anybody out there, especially if you're a liberal and you think that the separation of church and state is a thing. It's not really. We have an establishment clause in the First Amendment, which is where people argue the separation of church and state comes from. But the establishment clause simply says that America can have no national religion. It never says that that your Congress people can't be religious. It never says that they can't be religious. It also never says that a religion can't influence their opinion. It never says that religion can't influence legislation. It doesn't. It doesn't. And so anybody who's out there crying separation of church and state or anything like that, seek help. You need it. All right, let's keep hearing what else he has to say. It also sounds like people are going to clap for that. So, and also good for him for referencing scripture. I know that I just went off on the lefties, but like, good for him for referencing scripture. Like, that's genuinely good. And I'm happy to hear that somebody would in Congress.
1962, that our national motto, "In God We Trust," was adorned above this rostrum.
There you go.
And if you look at the little guide that they give tourists and constituents who come and visit the house, if you turn in there to about page 14 in the middle of that guide, it tells you the history of this. And it says very simply, these words were placed here above us. This motto was placed here as a rebuke of the Cold War era philosophy of the Soviet Union. That philosophy was Marxism and communism, which begins with the premise that there is no God. This is a critical distinction that is also articulated in our nation's birth certificate. We know the language well, the famous second paragraph that we used to have children memorize in school, and they don't do that so often anymore, but they should. G.K. Chesterton was the famous British philosopher and statesman, and he said one time, America is the only nation in the world that is founded upon a creed. And he said it's listed with almost theological lucidity in the Declaration of Independence. What is our creed? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, not born equal, created equal. And they are endowed by the same inalienable rights, with the same inalienable rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. That is the creed that has animated our nation since its founding, that has made us the great nation that we are. And we're in a time of extraordinary crisis right now.
Okay, I want to be clear here, too, about something before he gets into the extraordinary crisis, because I'm very interested to see exactly what the extraordinary crises are that he's going to reference. But so following up even on my last cut-in is, so they're going to call him, they're going to probably like one thing I've heard, Christo-fascist, basically a fascist for Christ or something like that, which once again, absolutely not true because, and here's why. So if you listen to what he said, he made clear earlier, and I heard it. You can go back and listen to it. I can't find the exact point in time, but he said, it is my belief. When he was referencing scripture and the Bible, he said, it is my belief. Now, when he went to the history of the nation, he did not specify it is my belief. You want to know why? Because all of those gods that he was talking about when it comes to the history of this nation are non-denominational. You could be Jewish, you could be Christian, you could be Catholic, you could be any denomination of Christian. You could be, you could be in some way like believe in Greek mythology and actually adhere to that. What he's saying is there is a God, and that is what our country was founded on. Our country was founded to have religious freedom with no established religion, but there is a level of religion, not a rejection of religion. And that's clear. So that's what he's saying. And that's why he says it is not, that's why he doesn't say it is my belief when it comes to what the history is, because not only is that the history, it's also just true. And anybody who is denouncing that is in a way a Marxist. Anybody who says that we're not allowed to have God in government whatsoever, whatever God that may be, a non-denominational God is in some way a Marxist or a communist, or at the very least, a sympathetic to the Soviet Union. But let's keep hearing what he has to say as he says, this nation is in crisis. Let's hear what those crises are.
And the world needs us to be strong. They need us to remember our creed and our admonition. Turmoil and violence have rocked the Middle East and Eastern Europe. We all know it. And tensions continue to build in the Indo-Pacific. The country demands strong leadership of this body, and we must not waver. Our nation's greatest ally in the Middle East is under attack. The first bill that I'm going to bring to this floor in just a little while will be in support of our dear friend Israel, and we're overdue in getting that done.
Interesting. You can hear some boos in the audience. I think that I don't know if this, see, there's two sides of me for that one, right? There's one side of me that would heavily criticize it, say, let's not get into any more endless wars or anything like that. And that's probably what I'd more go with. But there's also the potential that he knows he is about to face significant criticism from Dems and far left Dems for previous actions, such as the fact that he was one of the people that was working to lead the charge to overturn the election results in Arizona back in 2020 and other things. So it could be his way of trying to reach across the aisle and try to get some good graces, which I don't know if that's a good thing. You guys can let me know in the comments what you think about that. But even if that's what your goal is, I don't know if that would be the best policy getting us into another endless war. And I don't know exactly what the bill he plans on bringing up is. At a minimum, even just spending more of our money. But I don't know if that's the best way to reach across the aisle because that could lead us into World War III. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments.
We're going to show not only Israel, but the entire world that the barbarism of Hamas that we have all seen play out on our television screens is wretched and wrong, and we are going to stand for the good in that conflict. We have a catastrophe at our southern border. The Senate and the White House can no longer ignore the problem. From Texas to New York, wave after wave of illegal migrants are stressing our communities to their breaking point.
There we go.
We know that our streets are being flooded with fentanyl, and all of our communities, children, and even adults are dying from it.
That's the policy.
The status quo is unacceptable. Inaction is unacceptable, and we must come together and address the broken border. We have to do it.
That's good. And I think I hear boos from Democrats on that. I hear boos from Democrats on that one. Look, I understand a boo for no endless wars. I don't understand how let's try to get our fentanyl crisis, which is significantly due to having basically an open border. Let's try to make sure Americans don't die anymore. I don't understand how a boo is warranted for that, but apparently Democrats do. And I'd love to hear from one of them as to why they believe that is.
The skyrocketing cost of living is unsustainable, and Americans should not have to worry about how they're going to feed their family every week because they can't afford their groceries anymore. Everybody in this room should think about this. Here's the stats. Prices have increased over 17% in the last 2 years. Credit card interest rates are at the highest level in nearly 3 decades, and mortgage rates are now at a peak we haven't seen since 2001. We have to bring relief to the American people by reining in federal spending and bringing down inflation.
Please do. I'd like to see it.
The greatest threat to our national security is our nation's debts. And while we've been sitting in this room, that's right, the debt has crossed almost $33.6 trillion. In the time that it's going to take me to deliver this speech, we'll go up another 20 million in debt. It's unsustainable. We have to get the country back on track. Now, we know this is not going to be an easy task, and tough decisions will have to be made. But the consequences, if we don't act now, are unbearable. We have a duty to the American people to explain this to them so they understand it well. And we are going to establish a bipartisan debt commission to begin working on this crisis immediately. We all know that we also live in a time of bitter partisanship. It was noted.
Yep.
And it's been on display here today. Right?
Absolutely.
When our people are losing their faith in government, when they're losing sight of the principles that made us the greatest nation in the history of the world, I think we got to be mindful of that. We're going to fight. We're going to fight vigorously over our core principles because they're at odds a lot of times now in this modern era. We have to sacrifice sometimes our preferences because that's what's necessary in a legislative body. But we will defend our core principles to the end. In his farewell address, thank you. In his farewell address, President Reagan explained the secret of his rapport with people. And I like to paraphrase his explanation all the time. He said, they call me the great communicator, but I really wasn't that. He said, I was just communicating great things. And they're the same great things that have guided our nation since its founding. What are those great things? I call them the 7 core principles of American conservatism, but let me concede to you all, I think it's really quintessentially the core principles of our nation.
This is going to piss a lot of people off because it's already on the foundation of conservatism, and it's from Ronald Reagan. So a lot of lefties going to get real pissy about this. Let's hear it.
I boil them down to individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, and human dignity.
All of these at one point, for the most part, maybe not limited government, but all the other ones were ones that Republicans and Democrats, for the most part, could agree on. Republicans are still in agreement with all of them, especially limited government. I think it's always been a question as to whether or not, or what constitutes limited government. Democrats consistently for a long time have wanted to expand it. I mean, that's basically the majority of FDR's presidency, and even before that, and definitely after that. And some Republicans have not been necessarily as limited government as they will preach. But like all of those used to be agreed upon. They aren't anymore. We have an entire wing of the Democratic Party. It's not all Democrats, but wings of them that will fundamentally, and I also do believe that those are fundamental to American living and the idea of what America is supposed to be. But when you have an entire swath of Democrats that do not believe that, and even some Republicans, I'd say, why are they even in Congress? Because they don't even believe in what America is supposed to be. Go somewhere else. That those are not foundational principles. I agree with Mike on this. MAGA Mike, as a lot of people are calling him. MAGA Mike.
Those are the foundations that made us the extraordinary nation that we are. And you and I today are the stewards of those principles. The things that have made us the freest, most powerful, most successful nation in the history of the world. The things that have made us truly exceptional. In this time of great crisis, it is our duty to work together, as previous generations of great leaders have, to face these great challenges and solve these great problems. I will conclude with this. The job of the Speaker of the House is to serve the whole body, and I will. But I've made a commitment to my colleagues here that this Speaker's office is going to be known for decentralizing the power here.
Interesting.
My office is going to be known for members being more involved and having more influence in our processes and all the major decisions that are made here, for predictable processes and regular order. We owe that to the people. That's right.
Okay.
And I want to make this commitment to you, to my colleagues here and on the other side of the aisle as well. My office is going to be known for trust and transparency and accountability, for good stewardship of the people's treasure, for the honesty and integrity that is incumbent upon us, all of us, here in the people's house. Our system of government is not a perfect system. It's got a lot of challenges, but it is still the best one in the world, and we have an opportunity to preserve it.
Clap, 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 clap. I agree. You even have some Democrats standing for that. Okay, it looks like more that are starting to stand up.
Last thing I'm going to say is a message to the rest of the world. They have been watching this drama play out for a few weeks. We've learned a lot of lessons, but you know what? Through adversity, it makes you stronger. And we want our allies around the world to know that this body of lawmakers is reporting again to our duty stations. Let the enemies of freedom around the world hear us loud and clear. The People's House is back in business.
Well, thank God. But it also terrifies me, as I'm sure many of you it would as well. So that was Mike Johnson's first address as the Speaker of the House. And so let's recap. I know you guys, if you've been watching this whole time, I appreciate you and thank you for staying with me. I took some notes on this piece of paper here. So here are the promises that he made. So he started off his first one in order. He started off with Israel, right? So he started off with Israel. Once again, not sure if that's genuine warmongering or if that was just an attempt to appease the left. He did say his first piece of legislation will be about that. Let's see exactly what that legislation is. His second was the border. Good. Let's see it happen. That's what I want. When I list all these off, the reason why I'm doing so, and the reason why I took note of them is because, words are great, right? Words are great, but let's see some action. That was the biggest issue with McCarthy. He said a lot of great things, or he said a lot of good things, not necessarily a lot of great things, but a lot of good things, and then his action was horrible. So he's Israel first, some warmongering. Border, let's get the border under control. Next one was the economy, inflation, and everything like that, and that tied right in with debt. But I don't understand how you're saying that you're going to work on the United States debt when you're also saying that you're going to support Israel a lot through legislation. Look, you're probably going to be sending him money. Not money, then you're sending him resources, which in a way is just money. So, how are you going to work on the debt if you're going to spend more? That means you're going to have to cut somewhere. What are you going to cut? Maybe Social Security. Maybe. Medicare, Medicaid. I don't know. We'll see. Then he said his next thing was partisanship. He wants to work on partisanship. That's something that almost every politician always says and then never actually does, which, depending on who they are, is not necessarily a bad thing. Then his final things were decentralizing power, trust, and transparency. Okay. Let's decentralize power. A lot of people make that promise, never actually happens. Then trust and transparency. Release the January 6th tapes. It's one of the main things McCarthy said he was going to do, never happened. So to start with that, there's some transparency and trust with the American public. The other thing that I'm just wondering about is, so he said consistently, America's in great crisis. I know that. Most of my viewers know that. I want to know what a Democrat thinks. If you're a Democrat out there and you hear him say that America's in great crisis, and you're an ardent Democrat, and Democrat, not like socialist or leftist Democrat. You are a Democrat that it was fully Joe Biden. You're fully Joe Biden next time. Do you believe America is in great crisis? Why or why not? And if why not, why not? That's where I'm at with it, because I don't understand how you could deny it's not. And Democrats in that room, how do you stand behind the current president? How do you stand behind your party when you're the ones basically in total power of the majority of government besides the House of Representatives and kind of the Supreme Court? How do you not deny it? How do you deny that we're in great crisis right now? Or do you stand fully behind the idea that it's a great crisis and you just want to watch the world burn? I don't know. But everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a longer one, and I hope you learned something more about Mike Johnson. I'm curious if you have any other comments, questions, or concerns about him, anything that I didn't cover that you think I should know. I've only learned as much as you guys have in the last few days. So God bless you. God bless America. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Definitely subscribe, guys, if you're not already. And until next time, you've been watching Speechless. Cut for time.